welcome to Good Game. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex.
There are some games which soak up your spare time, a little bit of gaming on the weekend, relax, unwind, have a cup of tea, and then there's Civilization, which dominates your every waking moment.
Oh, it's not a game, Bajo, it's a lifestyle. And tonight we do our best to rule in Civilization 6.
And muscle it into an upright position. Right, lads, another 20 like that, then we can party.
Plus, we have a review for you of Titanfall 2. Who wouldn't want a 20-foot-tall robot companion to help you out in life?
Yeah, they can hang up the washing. Yeah. Or get frisbees off my roof.
Who plays Frisbee?
Frisbee's great fun. I'd play more if they weren't all bloody on my roof.
Pilot Cooper, our journey is far from over. We must get this data to the fleet.
But first up this week, I managed to dip my ashen toe into the Dark Souls 3 DLC, Ashes of Ariel. Hi. Ow. Ow. It's a snowy zone full of gross, rotten creatures that you're encouraged to purge. And it's got the usual cryptic kind of dialogue and zone story setup.
Grant us our wish.
What's your wish?
Make the tales true.
Burn the world.
And burn this world.
Alright. I'm not very far through it yet, but for a Dark Souls game, it's a little bland so far. However, the sound design is incredible. Those little noises of creatures or things you can't see yet. And of course, the screams. Too spooky. And in fairness, I haven't actually made it to the first boss yet because of these jerks. And these jerks.
Okie dokie.
And this jerk.
Get cocky, get even. No! So close.
What a bunch of jerks. But I am going to go back because I cannot resist the lure of the shinies. Gotta get all the shinies, Hex. Gotta get them. Collect them all up.
But what could that shiny be? Yeah, I gotta do it. This is who I am. This is who I am. I'm the shiny gatherer. I cannot resist. Simple gem. That was worth it.
Well, I also took some time out to look at the Skyrim Special Edition. I just had to see what it was like. And at first I thought, yeah, this is pretty much exactly how I remember it looking. It didn't strike me as being amazingly upgraded or anything. You know, without having that side-by-side comparison like they did in the trailer, it's hard to appreciate all the changes. But then suddenly 3 hours had passed. And I was ogling sparkling streams and staring up at the god rays. Already starting to build a character. Just totally reminded me why I love this game. So I actually had to force myself to stop playing because I don't think I have another 100 or so hours in my life to devote to this all over again.
Yeah, I think if you haven't played Skyrim before, firstly, hi, welcome to Earth. You should probably play Skyrim. This is probably the version to get. This remastered console version also improves the loading, which was a real pain point in the last generation. If you have already played heaps of Skyrim, then I wouldn't say the graphical update is enough to demand that you play it again. It's kind of just bringing it up to where the PC version is at.
Still, it is a classic. But we should get on with the rest of the show.
Yes, can you name the game for this week?
You're plotting a new course again, aren't you?
The currents before us are ever-changing. We must adapt and press forward if we are to see our journey's end.
And how will we know when we get there?
It's been 6 years since the last main game in the Civilization franchise, a long time between conquering.
Yes, and a part of the reason for that might be that Civ 5 is still such a good game that only got better with each update. Fans of Civilization are big fans, kind of like how fans of JRPGs are really into JRPGs.
Yeah, you can't really just dip your toe into this, and Civ 6 is a big deal. It brings about some of the biggest changes to the series yet.
Look back over the past with its changing empires that rose and fell.
And so we've, what would you say, waded in about waist deep?
Yeah, just up to here actually, where it starts to get serious.
Yeah, I mean, it takes sort of dozens of hours and game after game before you can really come to grips with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the first PC game I ever played was Civilization, so it has a lot of nostalgia for me. But this particular Civ, I feel like I'm relearning the entire game again, which is stressful, but also really great. The newest and most complicated mechanic is districts. Developer Firaxis have made the bold decision to pull out a lot of the structures that would just build within your city center and force you to physically place them on the map. This is actually a really big deal. And you can only have one of each kind of district in a city.
Yeah, but if you just plonk down every district you can, you forfeit land, and thus resources. And this could potentially make your city less productive in the long term and limit some options while opening up new ones. There's a lot to consider, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the intention with these districts is to force you to specialize with each city, rather than just having a whole bunch of clones. I think what they're trying to do is get rid of ICS, Infinite City Spread, which was a valid way to win in previous games, but this is far more interesting.
Yeah, and I think districts are a natural evolution to the game, and where you place them in your city matters too. You'll want to put commercial districts near rivers, for example, for bonuses. Districts are permanent though, so you have to live with your decisions.
Yeah, it's really nice seeing your city spread out like this visually. And the whole game has a lovely Lego-like, delightful pop to it now as you place things down and move units about. I read an article that compared this art style to a board game now, and that is so accurate. I totally agree with that. It's a delightful game. It's a delight to look at and a delight to play.
Yeah, this one really appeals to me visually. Just the way it all feels, that kind of tactile bitsiness of it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other big changes is you don't have to worry about happiness so much. The happiness mechanic of the last game has kind of been turned into amenities, where you just need to have enough housing and certain structures to keep your city growing.
Everything here appears calculated to inspire kind and happy feelings.
And this is such a great change, because I felt like with Civ 5, I was always struggling to keep my civilians happy, and that distracted me from the fun stuff.
Yeah, but keeping the leaders happy, that's another thing entirely. Now, each leader has their own agenda. They have their own goals as opposed to the AI in previous games where they all kind of just played the same.
Yeah, it never felt right seeing Gandhi let off a nuke.
Yeah, that said, I wouldn't say the AI is necessarily any better or worse. They still seem to behave strangely at times, loving you one minute, then declaring war the next. But they're definitely more interesting to play against.
Yeah, another thing I really liked was the new war system.
We are, by the grace of God, Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland.
So in my first playthrough, England was so upset that I settled near them. They just kept going to war with me. Constant. We could never be friends.
As our protests are in vain, we hereby declare war. War? We are not amused.
It upset the other leaders so much that it really set back my civilization's progress.
Yeah, it can be very tempting to just wipe out little cities nearby, but there are diplomatic consequences if you get labelled a warmonger.
But now, with the new war system, you can actually argue different reasons to go to war so you don't get such a penalty. The casus belli system basically means you can now justify war to the other leaders and have little, or I think in some cases, have no penalty for declaring war on another leader, if you have a good reason.
Another change is that you don't have to build roads, which is fantastic. When you open a trade route, it automatically builds a road. You can upgrade your land with builder units, but they'll also disappear after a while, so you have to make good use of them.
I might be imagining this, but I felt like moving units around the map was a little bit slower, but I didn't really mind that. The combat is still strategic and the fighting is rich and beautiful to watch, plus there are ways to speed up animations. However, I turned some of those animations off pretty quick because barbarians are total bastards now.
Yeah, they're much more aggressive, aren't they? And they're always building little camps. And if you leave them be and don't take care of the problem, they start sending some pretty advanced units to mess you up.
Oh, the number of times I've just been happily building a little undefended city and a whole army of barbarians just rock up.
We have discovered a city-state. Establishing diplomatic relations with them will surely be beneficial for our empire.
City-states also feel more involved in the strategy of the game now. You can't just throw money at them now to win them over, you have to use an envoy system. And to be honest, I haven't quite got my head around that yet because I've spent most of my time fighting the Queen of England and barbarians with cannons. Cannons hex!
Yeah, I mean, overall, this is a much more refined and specialised Civ game. It makes you really stop and think hard about what you want each city's purpose to be. But I also think it's more impenetrable because of that, and the tutorial was unusually basic.
As your personal advisor, I am qualified to assist you in all matters related to ruling our civilization.
Yeah, that was surprising. I think newcomers and maybe even oldcomers to this series may find it difficult getting to grips with the finer points of this game, but that's also half the fun. This is kind of like a big puzzle with so much to put together. It's a mess and you need to find the most logical way through it.
There are three things extremely hard: steel, a diamond, and to know oneself.
And it's definitely worth seeking out some strategy guides to get a leg up. That really helped me.
And look, there's so much about this game we haven't covered yet. Like the religion and political systems, and how Civics has its own tech tree, and there are all these wonderful bonus cards to place down depending on what kind of government you have. And once again, putting down those cards makes it feel a bit more like a board game. But we should wrap this up. What are you going to give it, Bajo?
I think time will tell as to whether all of these changes play out as intended. Just a note that we couldn't check out the multiplayer because there were no matches. I think everyone's still getting to grips with the single player.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this 4 out of 5. I think it's great. I'm having a good time so far.
Yeah, it's an exceptionally well thought out game, and I think it's going to be around for a long time. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 as well.
From the height of these pyramids, 40 centuries look down on us.
This week, I want to talk about Bethesda and their recent game review policy. Now, if you haven't heard, the publisher behind huge games like these put out a statement saying that they won't be sending media their games for review until one day before the games were released. So let's start off with why they're doing this. According to them, they want everyone to experience their games at the same time. Now I'm just going to go ahead and call bullshit on that.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Global bullshit. I call bullshit bullshit!
Why? Well, because they are giving selected YouTubers and influencers access to their games early. They're even offering early access to their games as a pre-order incentive. So which is it, Bethesda? Either you want everyone to experience your games at the same time, or you don't. I mean, at least be consistent.
What do you want?
Now, I know I may come across as a bit of a toddler who's had his toys taken away, complaining about the fact that I may not get early access to some games anymore. And clearly, I lament the fact that this may just be the result of the changing media landscape in the age of the all-powerful YouTuber. But in my opinion, this really sucks, only because it hurts the consumer who wants to make an informed decision. It's blatantly an anti-consumer move. Bethesda wants to make sure that there are no bad opinions out there about their games that would make you want to cancel a pre-order or second-guess their hype train and stop you from walking into a shop on launch day. In their statement, they add that we understand that some of you want to read reviews before you make your decision, and if that's the case, we encourage you to wait for your favorite reviewers to share their thoughts. I mean, come on, Bethesda, have you even met a gamer before? You want us to wait?
Come on!
And you're talking about waiting for reviewers to finish and craft reviews of games that you can spend upwards of 100 hours in?
Oh, for the love of God, how much longer?
That's like an eternity for a gamer to wait to get their hands on a fresh new game. A game that you specifically have been marketing like crazy to get us excited for the thing. So you know better than anyone out there that we're not patient enough to wait.
Been waiting for this thing to come out for months.
You're just going to have to be patient.
Yeah! Yeah!
Not to mention, this is going to encourage a heap of rushed reviews in order to be the first to get some of those sweet, sweet hits. Reviews like, Fallout 4 was great, it didn't even feel like an apocalypse, 4 stars. Oblivion was shit, I spent the whole game stuck in a jail cell, 2 stars. The thing that I guess boggles my mind the most about all of this is the fact that Bethesda games are good. Few publishers have such a great hit record. I mean, Fallout, Skyrim, Doom, Wolfenstein, Dishonored, we're talking some of the best games in the business here. So why not have some confidence in your products and let reviewers actually help build hype for you? I mean, how are you going to put all those 10 out of 10 reviews on your ads now, huh? Maybe it's because of the fact that they have built up such a strong relationship and respect amongst gamers that they can do this and not get completely eviscerated. But it won't take much. Just a few bad games under this policy will quickly turn the tide of opinion against them.
No, there's no justice like angry mob justice.
Now, obviously, at the end of the day, Bethesda can do what they want. There's no obligation for them or any publisher to send early review copies. And increasingly, publishers are choosing this approach, so I guess at least Bethesda has a clear policy on it now. But they're still manipulating the discussion around their games by cherry-picking these key influencers, who are obviously going to feel obliged to portray them in the best light, lest Bethesda decree them unworthy of future support.
Since I had been such a great supporter of all of their series,
Bethesda have kindly sent me Skyrim early.
A promotional, pre-release copy of Skyrim Special Edition sent to me by the legends at Bethesda.
I mean, look at it this way. Established games media and game publishers are kind of like an old marriage. Sure, some of the spark may have gone and reviews may take a little longer to get up. And yes, we're jealous of the new, young, easily influenced thing on the scene. But remember, we've spent years developing this relationship through the highs and the lows. and I think we're both stronger for it. And sure, it's not always going to be easy, but nothing worth having ever is. And now you're willing to throw it all away for a few cheap thrills? Well, what happened to us? How did we get here, Bethesda? Don't you remember the good times? I mean, now you're just making a scene in front of all of our friends, and I don't know if I've got the strength to...
Go, I'm telling you before I take it all back.
I'm sorry. Those are clearly just my issues, and I need to work through them. But what about you? Do you think this is a bad move on Bethesda's part, or are we just overreacting to the inevitable change? Also, who would you rather spend the holidays with, us or them? Let us know in social media, and we'll discuss it on tomorrow's episode of Pocket.
The first Titanfall saw us teaming up online to fight in a space war between the IMC and the militia, with the help of huge artificially intelligent exoskeletons called Titans. And we really liked it, even though we did suffer from burnout and moved on pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it was a unique and fun multiplayer shooter, but I can't say I was that excited about a sequel. I just felt like it sort of did its dash and didn't really need to revisit it. That is until I discovered that it has a single-player campaign, and it's awesome.
I saw them being loaded on you, something.
You play Rifleman Jack Cooper, who is in the process of undergoing his Titan pilot training via simulation, when the war with the IMC arrives on your doorstep and you're thrown into the action.
Are we near the drop zone?
All too quickly, Jack's superior dies in battle, leaving his Titan no choice but to assign him as the new pilot.
Pilot, we must establish a neural link in order to proceed. Please embark when ready.
But Hex, Jack's just a rookie. He's not ready.
He's gonna have to get ready, Bajo, because war waits for no one.
With that, you're teamed up with BT-7274. Primary objective, uphold the mission.
Got a friendly Vanguard-class Titan. That BT?
Yeah, and what a team! As you begin pushing your way through armed forces and plowing through battlefields in an attempt to rendezvous with your squad, you and BT have to work together. Well, sometimes together.
Pilot control initiated.
And sometimes apart.
Trust me.
You form an instant bond with your mechanical war machine thanks to some wonderful writing and glorious AI humor.
What a hot streak.
Your vitals do not indicate a temperature problem.
It's just an expression, BT. It means I've been killing a lot of enemies quickly.
Understood. I have had numerous hot streaks within the past 38 standard hours.
He's just so wonderful, Hex. I wish he was real.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how little it takes for us to get emotionally invested in an AI companion. I mean, just give it a hint of personality and damn it if we won't be best friends forever.
You've already lost the spy militia. You're just too stupid to know.
The action is really well broken up between time spent in the Titan and time spent on foot. Just when you feel like you're ready for something different, the action will shift.
Pilot, I cannot free myself. Cooper.
Gunplay on the ground is exciting and plentiful, and I really enjoyed this combat, Hex. It just feels solid and tight, you know? You can sense this developer's experience with every shot, just the way that the bullets impact your enemies and the way they ragdoll. I also like the little touches, like when you're crawling along the ground, the gun is kind of held at a different angle, you know, which makes sense, you know, because you can't crawl like this. You do it like that. Yeah. Just nice little touches. And there's a good range of difficulty options to choose from too that can be switched on the fly. The AI is a little forgiving on normal difficulty though, so as a baseline you probably want to start this on hard.
There's a bounty of weapons to choose from as well, isn't there? I was spoiled for choice when it came to guns, which is nice because then you never have to stick with the same gun for too long unless you really love it. And when you're in the Titan, there are entire weapon loadouts to collect and jump between that allow you to experiment with combinations of attack and defensive abilities. Particularly useful in boss fights or taking on multiple other Titans.
Flight core ready.
Of course, so soon, pilot. You scared too easily.
One of Titanfall's coolest features was the wall running mechanic, and it's been finessed for this sequel.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get the hang of it. It's the same button to jump, double jump, and wall run, so getting the timing right can be confusing if you overthink it and press buttons when you shouldn't. But once it clicks, it's pretty unreal.
Yeah, and it's not like wall running is a revolutionary concept, but it's just been implemented so well and incorporated beautifully into the level design.
Yeah, exactly, and it's that level design that is the real hero of this sequel, I think. I mean, we've played countless space shooters since the dawn of Halo, and it can often feel like we're playing the same game over and over. But Respawn have worked hard to create an environment that feels not only fresh, but innovative.
Yeah, like that factory sequence with all the moving platforms, so good. Trying to focus on gunplay amidst huge moving parts and trying not to get crushed. Certainly a good way to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, and the spaces felt so huge and open. This isn't a corridor shooter. You'll often find yourself navigating your own path. Although some of the climbing, wall running puzzles felt a little awkward and unintuitive.
I don't think so. I think it's just a bit unconventional. And I liked that you had to go against your instincts a bit in order to navigate those sections.
Well, probably my favourite level was the one where you get caught up in a kind of time shift as the world starts to jump between the past and the present. Eventually you get your hands on a device that allows you to control this, and it transforms the experience.
That was nuts, especially when you need to start switching time dimensions to navigate all those platforming sections. They incorporated the mechanics so well.
It was a fun mechanic too, because you could time shift and then just appear behind an enemy, which is hilarious.
Yes, but with soldiers in one dimension and lizard monsters in another, you quickly lose track of what's where, and it becomes quite stressful.
Nice variety in the environments too. I have to say I groaned audibly when I was told I'd need to repair a beacon, because there's always a bloody beacon. But that whole sequence ended up being yet another environmental departure from the previous levels, so it felt fresh.
In the end, I think it's fair to say that the narrative isn't actually that interesting, but just that level design is so good, it keeps pulling you through. For a franchise that began its life without a single-player campaign, this sequel has really delivered. They did it, Hex, they did it!
Yeah, I was really surprised. Not to mention that a game that is essentially about robot wars in space made me cry a little bit. I mean, so often in these kinds of games I find it so hard to care about anyone, and yet here I was blubbering over a giant robot.
Wait a minute. Lastimosa linked you to a rifleman?
Yes, he had no other options.
Understood. We'll get you transferred to a fully qualified pilot.
Objection. Cooper is my pilot.
I love you, BT.
Well, let's move on to the multiplayer, and straight away you get the impression they're trying to combat that burnout and fatigue that the first game had. There's heaps to unlock and customize with your pilot, and a variety of Titans that all have their own play styles and special abilities. And this variety makes all the difference to this pilot versus Titan tug-of-war kind of combat. It's well-balanced chaos.
Indeed. And it's well designed, I think, to make sure that when you're on the ground as a pilot, you not only have decent anti-Titan weaponry at your disposal, but lots of little trenches and caves to hide in.
Not a lot of places to hide when you're in a giant mech suit, though, is there? But the glory of raining terror on the battlefield below when you're suited up is pretty great. There's a number of different tactical abilities to choose from and weapon loadouts to customize, and it does take a bit of time to work out what suits your playstyle.
Yeah, I mean, the grapple seems like a cool idea, but it didn't help me much. I found I got much better use out of the stim ability, which gives you a faster sprint, dash, and just more HP.
I really liked the cloak. It was all about the cloak for me, actually, because you die so quick in these encounters, kind of like Call of Duty encounters, you know? So just being able to sneak around behind someone and go blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, one thing we commended the last game for as well is that no matter how you play, everyone gets a go in a Titan at some point during the match. And I like that.
Yeah, it keeps the action on the battlefield exciting. Lots of mechs about, doing their thing. Whether you're playing Attrition, one of the most popular modes where the map is flooded with AI opponents, or Amped Hardpoint, a pretty standard capture the point mode.
A captured.
But for me, the standout was actually Last Titan Standing, just because it's a whole bunch of mechs fighting it out. Mech on mech action.
I find it so hard to bail out of my Titan when it's about to explode, though. I'm just there, like cannons blazing until the end. And, you know, the captain should go down with the ship.
Or maybe just stay alive and keep shooting the enemy.
Yeah, maybe. I also thought the map design was really great. Nice variety, pretty sunsets.
Okay, pilots, let's get this job done.
Also, some of the maps feel huge, but also really dense at the same time. And it's such a good looking game, both in single player and multiplayer. It's just so crisp and smooth. The game uses something called dynamic resolution scaling, which keeps that frame rate at 60 or near it most of the time. And it's just so nice to see a console game that looks this good running at that kind of frame rate.
Another thing we should mention is that all Titanfall's multiplayer modes and maps post-launch will be free. There's no season pass or additional spend, which is really nice. What did you think all up?
This is good sci-fi. It's good robot-on-robot action, and time will tell whether the multiplayer has that lasting appeal that we really want from it, but they've done such a good job at making a sequel that trumps the original game, I think. So I'm giving it 4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tend to spend a lot of time in these kind of multiplayer online shooters, but I honestly thought this was worth it for the campaign alone. I devoured that. And there was even a little bit of post-credits goodness that got me excited for a possible Titanfall 3, which is always a good sign. Well done, Respawn. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5.
BT!
Got you.
No, this isn't good. They're almost at the maze. It's not ready. We're gonna have to find a way to delay them.
I can send the sheriff into Sector 9C. That should slow them down and give us time to sort this glitch out.
Excellent work. Have you got his backstory sorted out?
Check.
Can you make it particularly brutal this time?
Check.
Okay, have you reset the townsfolk?
Check.
And finally, did you name the game for this week?
It was Sid Meier's Ace Patrol for PC and iOS, released in 2013. This turn-based strategy game put you in command of hotshot war pilots ready to barrel roll through a campaign of tense tactical dogfights. And it was Name the Game because it was by, of course, Sid Meier, the genius creator of the Civilization series. And don't forget to enter our Name the Game competition. Full details are on our website. You could win this mystery box of stuff from the Good Game team. Who can resist the lure of the mystery box? What could it be?
Next week on the show, the parade of AAA shooters continues. We go into the future with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
I believe the warfare, Hex, goes on forever.
It's infinite.
It's infinite warfare.
Thanks for clarifying.
Never ends.
Save the bullet.
Plus, we get our hands on the upgraded, maxed out, buffed up version of the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation Pro.
And don't forget our show for younger gamers, Good Games Spawn Point, over on ABC Me this weekend. We'll be looking for adventure in Yokai Watch 2, Fleshy Souls, and Bony Spirits.
So until next time, Bajo out.
Hex out. Haven't we already had a taste of COD in space? Somewhere back there?
Yeah, there was that mission in space which was like,
was it
why
Ghost
are we doing
Dogs?
this? But it's fun.
Was it Kevin Spacey?
I don't know, they all blur.
Kevin Spacey in space?
They all start to blur. I would like to see Kevin Spacey in space.
This one will be good though. This one will be exciting.
Because it goes on forever, it's infinite.
Infinite space. I understand.
You just understand.